Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Team Nyaya Shastra, I warmly welcome you all to today's webinar. We are truly honored to have with us our esteemed guest speaker, Ms. Simran Bharti, LLM, UGC NET, PhD pursuing, Assistant Professor of Law, PhD Research Scholar, CCS University Meerut. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and sparing your valuable time to guide us today. Now, moving forward, let me first introduce Nyaya Shastra to you all. Nyaya Shastra aims to be a key hub for promoting legal excellence through a combination of research, teaching, raising awareness, and encouraging healthy competition. We are committed to advancing legal knowledge and creating a community that includes legal enthusiasts, scholars, professionals, and students. Our goal is to create a dynamic environment that fosters the growth, innovation, and excellence in the legal field. Ultimately, we want Nyaya Shastra to be a leading platform that bridges the gap between the academic and practical law, combining the research education and awareness. Nyaya Shastra organizes various competitions such as judgment writing, drafting, moot court competition, article writing competition, and conduct webinars. For more information, you can visit our website nyayashastra.co.in or follow us on Instagram. You can also connect us through LinkedIn. Now, without further delay, I would now like to invite Ms. Simran Bharti ma'am to commence the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, Nyaya Shastra, for inviting me for such great webinar. Okay, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to just share my views and opinions on such wonderful topic that we are going to have like for few minutes. Okay, so shall we start? And I have to share the PPT also. Shall we start now?
Yes, ma'am, you can start.
Okay. So I hope I'm clearly audible and visible to everyone here. And yeah, first of all, very happy Teachers' Day to everyone because somewhere we are like teacher in everyone's life. We are teaching someone or something. So is it a webinar which is going to be a little bit of bilingual? So is there anyone who has any issue regarding this? Maybe some points. All right. I think we can thumbs up if you are just agree with my words. All right. Okay. So I should just start my PPT first, then we'll continue. Just a moment. Uh, can you please tell me, is this clearly visible to everyone? Because I'm not able to see you, any one of you. So
It is visible,
I
ma'am.
okay, okay. Thank you so much. So the topic we have chosen today is changing dimensions of women's rights in the Indian legal system, which is a journey from protection to environment. So, like we talk about the changing dimension, like dimension is the exact meaning, like at what extent we have reached. When we talk about the women's rights, we always talk. We have so many laws, we have so many like cases, we have so many judiciary involvement in the era of changing dimensions of women's rights in India. So, but what exactly and what at extent it have reached. So that is the basic idea of the changing dimensions of women rights in the Indian legal system, like how legislative have performed, how judicial involvement have done, how our NGOs have are working towards this women's rights, and how are the society is reacting towards the dimensions which are changing day by day. So the perspective we are going to discuss in this webinar. So okay, so now we should start first of all with the introduction. And before this, I just want to like share one more thing, that it is the topic that we have chosen today. It's like very generic and very general to everyone. Like we all the time and we every day we always see an incident which is somewhere belongs to the gender inequality, somewhere belongs to the discrimination uh, between the men and women, between the girl and boy, whether it's our home, whether it's a society, whether it's any public property, or like whether in a school. So this is the kind of a topic which is very general to everyone, and we talk about it like very often. So it is something which you can like connect with the today's topic, because uh, the way I'm going to just explain the things, that is not so much of technical, and which does not involve so many technicalities of the laws. And I'm not going to talk about the so many sections and the articles. We're just going through a briefly, like by like studying the articles or and the case laws, जो कि Supreme Court which have decided, okay, in the changing dimensions of women rights. So if we talk about the introduction part, so introduction basically it's we'll start definitely from the historical context. So if we see the historical context, you can see in the PPT, that the second slide of my PPT, it clearly says that Indian culture has been patriarchal. डेफिनेटली इट्स अ मेल डोमिनेटिंग कंट्री, है ना, जो पुरुष प्रधान देश जिसे हम कहते हैं. सो इंडियन कल्चर हैज बीन पेट्रियार्कल विद वुमेन हैविंग लिटिल टू नो legal status and often being seen as the independence of their husbands, father or son. क्योंकि what like what normal है in our society, if a woman before marriage, if she is completely depending on her father, after marriage she is completely dependent on her husband. And like when the children grow up, like very easy to say that yes, a woman dependent on her son or her children. So like prior to the independence, India saw harsh customs like child marriage, the denial of property rights, and the sati pratha, which we all see in the history. So we also have some reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chand Vidya Sagar, who worked to abolish the child marriage, who worked for the remarriage of divorced women, who worked against the sati pratha. So these are the reformers which we required in our history, and those have worked very hard just to change the dimensions of the women rights, that yes, women also exist in our society, and they can also have a separate identity, and they can also have some rights with to live with the dignity and with full of respect. So next is that Indian Constitution also, which established a legal basis for gender justice and reform and guaranteed equality, became a driving force behind change after independence. And law increasingly changed over time to actively empower women in areas like property, work, dignity, personal autonomy, rather than only provide protection. Because women just don't need protection. Obviously everyone will agree on this, that every individual, when we talk about the every individual, it obviously it includes men and women both, in all the genders. So every individual, like we don't need only the protection, we need the equality, we need the like freedom. So these are the things. Now next will come with the constitutional foundations of gender equality. Now what are the constitutional foundations? So like if we say there are a lot of articles. We talk about Article 14, we talk about Article 15, 115, 3, and Article 16, which completely talks about the equality and like right to equality. So, Article 14 talks about the equality before the law. So, like, if I've mentioned here that women are guaranteed equality before the law, so it's not only a women, it's every individual. When we talk about the right to equality, it's every individual which needs equality before the law under Article 14, which means that they won't face any discrimination or unjust treatment in any legal situation, and by expressly forwarding six discrimination against women in Article 15.1 and Article 15.3 clearly says that there will be a specific measures which provide for the women and children under Article 15.3, which makes special provisions for the women and children just for their safety, just for their protection, and just to enhance their dignity and their status in the society, in the male dominating society, basically. And then Article 16 clearly says that equal employment opportunities. So, equal employment opportunities which guaranteed under Article 16, which allowing women to compete freely in public services and other professions free from institutionalized gender prejudice. So, like compete freely in public services. Like, if women will not get an equal chance, then how can we expect from women that they will do a equal work as men do? So it's a very first thing which a woman need, that they need an equal opportunity first of all. So we need to give an equal opportunity to the women to fight and to compete against the men, or to fight freely for their rights, or to fight freely for their freedom, and to get the equal chance in each and every field wherever they want to work. Okay. So now moving on to our next slide, which is legislative milestones. Okay. So, are we going good? Is there any kind of problem if anyone facing or invisibility or in my voice? Is there anyone to answer?
Your voice is clear, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Just a moment. Okay. Mm, all right. So legislate. Okay. So the legislative milestones, like women were first granted restricted inheritance rights under the Hindu Succession Act. Like they don't get equal opportunity or equal right to get the to get the inheritance in the Hindu Succession Act 1956. Then we have, so what are the legislative milestones that we are providing the equal opportunity to the women also in terms of property, in terms to get the share of the property in their proportionary property, whether it's patriarchal joint family property. So we have with us the Hindu Succession Act of 1956. Then we have with us the Dowry Prohibition Act, which talks about in order to combat exploitation that often lead to violence against married women, which is so common in India, and we saw in every second house that there is somewhere domestic violence against the women, and there is some like which is not so good behavior towards the women. So there is a dowry prohibition act that we have with us, just to uh, like make make to feel the women more powerful, that yes, there is a law, there is an act which is providing a protection to the women. So by next is by striking a balance between customs and constitutional principles of gender equity, these legislative changes sought to eliminate discriminatory structures in marriages and families. And the most important, when we talk about the Hindu Succession Act, like before, it was not mentioned in the act that there will be a equal and the equal right of the property for the women. But now, after the 2005 modification of this act, it guaranteed full gender equality in the succession of ancestral property by giving girls the same proportionary rights as males. Okay, so these modification basically like it's in Indian law, especially these are the movement in Indian law which towards acknowledging women as equal participants in family, property, and societal institutions. Right. Now, next slide again, which is in a continuation of the legislative milestones, that by acknowledging physical, sexual, verbal, emotional, and financial abuse, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 expanded legal protection beyond marriage, because the act which also applicable to the couples who are living in live-in relationships. So there is no mandatory provision that the couple should be married. The woman, if she's living with her partner in a live-in relationship, so she is also like go to the court, go to the police, and just lodge a complaint against the men or against the person who is harassing her or doing any kind of domestic violence with her. So, for this and in the continuation of the legislative milestone, we'll definitely going through this. Going to read this Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan. So definitely, being a law student or being an advocate, we always like hearing this case Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, which like provided us the guidelines which gave rise to the POSH Act, which is a Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act 2013, which established workplace safety and dignity for women in all professions. So there is no such thing that we only want a protection in our home or in any public service. We also need to protect a women in all the field in every way, and in especially where they work, where they professionally enhancing their ability, enhancing their dignity by earning money, by just regulating their house and just making themselves a free bird, or making feel there's so much of freedom, with so much of freedom. So that is also comes with the Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, where Supreme Court gave us some guidelines which give a rise to POSH Act and establish the workplace safety and dignity for women in all professions. Now, next we have if female workers to report sexual harassment without fear of prosecution. So definitely there is a provision which is mandatory to all the work areas or workplaces, that to form a internal complaint committees, which especially made to resolve the issues which are related to the prevention of sexual harassment. So harassment cases, sexual harassment cases, all are regulated by the internal complaints committee, which is mandatory to form by all the workplaces or companies. Now, next we have landmark case laws, which is also known as the reproductive rights. So here, the Supreme Court acknowledged women's reproductive choice as an integral component of a right to personal liberty, which is it's a mandatory provision, or you can say a greatest one, which talks about the right to personal liberty which every person should have. So, in the 2009 case of Suchita Srivastava versus Chandigarh administration, and then next in X versus Principal Secretary Health 2022, where the court eliminated limits on marriage and granted unmarried women the access to an abortion up to 24 weeks into their pregnancies. So that much liberty which given by the Supreme Court, it somewhere reflects that the reproductive rights, that there is a right of freedom also given to the women, which like this is completely up to the women, the choice to become a mother, like when she is ready and when she is not ready. So there is also a law, we have the case laws we have, which reflects completely the reproductive freedom of the women that the women must have. And this ruling especially brought the law into the line with the changing social realities by invalidating discriminatory clauses that made a distinction between married and unmarried women. Okay. Next, case laws related to the workplace equality. So, workplace equality basically, for this, we have a case and the court guidelines. The court declared arbitrary requirement that flight hostess retire upon marriage or their first pregnancy to be illegal. So definitely, if the woman is working, so we cannot make that her profession is illegal or something which she cannot continue after the marriage or after the pregnancy. So this is absolutely wrong and absolutely biased. So we have for this India versus Nargesh Mirza, in which the arbitrary requirement that fly hostess upon retire upon marriage and their first pregnancy to be illegal, declared illegal in the 1981 case. And next, this case demonstrated that the normal life decision like marriage and parenthood, it cannot be punished for professional women. So there is no such way that if women is working, so we should make a more burden on her, and we should make a like she would feel more punished if she is working, because generally we see that if a woman is working in any home, so she has to manage her work life, and she also has to manage the household things after returning from her work. So this is the completely unfair and completely biased, which is not so good and which is not so in the favor of the women, because they have to manage both the things alone sometimes. So these are the things which making their professional life or choosing their career and choosing their like freedom is sometimes they feel that we are doing something wrong, because they have to manage this also, they have to manage that also. So everything is up to women, and to maintain the dignity of the house. If you are going somewhere, if you are just, so you have to go like proper in a wearing everything, and you cannot go like the way you want to go, whether it's office, whether it's a party. So there are a lot of restrictions from the house also, that people like what we can say, like people basically expect from the women to be perfect in all the ways. So after all, a woman is also a human, so you cannot expect that she must be perfect in all the circumstances. So it's a human being. Women is it can also make some mistakes if she is working outside, if she is earning and working in a like she's having such freedom, and again you are expecting her to just come at the home after after the hectic whole day, returning to the home and complete all the household work. So that is also not acceptable. So this kind of behavior related to the women, so it's not like it's completely unacceptable for everyone. So next we have the court dismantled institutional inequality in the armed services in Lieutenant Colonel Nitishan versus Union of India 2021 by upholding a permanent commission for women army first, officers. Okay, and next the ruling emphasized the need of acknowledging systematic prejudice that denied women equal chance in spite of their service and talent. These decisions basically demonstrated the judiciary involvement in shattering professional glass ceilings and emphasized women's equal rights to seek jobs. Now, in the next slide, we are going to study about gender justice, like where court has ruled such cases where we can see that the men and the women and the gender biased laws have been yeah, like declared unconstitutional. So like we have section 497 of the IPC, so the which deals with adultery, which everyone knows. So the ruling was declared unconstitutional in Joseph Shine versus Union of India 2018 because it considered women as their husband's property. So everyone like aware about the case, and I'm not going into the case and to discuss any one of the case. We are just going to discuss the brief things and whatever the things we have from our judiciary and from the perspective of the society. So that's the thing we are going to discuss today. And the next is, according to the court, moral principles are out of date, cannot be used to jeopardize equality, privacy, or individual dignity. According to the Sabrimala verdict, which is a very famous verdict of 2018, which in which the temple's prohibition of on menstruation women entering was invalidated since it was discriminatory and a violation of both equality and religious freedom. So, like, these are the things which need to think. Like, people need to think. So, if we talk about the menstruation, so if the divine, if the Almighty have given us some things which is, yeah, not so common in the boys, like it is not for boys, which is only for women. So, but it is given by the that divine power. It is not like generated by themselves. They are not making themselves to be in the menstruation. So how it can be wrong, and how it can be anything which makes or which prohibit the women from entering in the temple. So it needs some like a deep thinking, which I will say. So, yeah. So, according to the Sabrimala verdict, also it is clearly the positive ruling that we got in 2018 that the temple's prohibition on menstruation and women entering was invalidated. So, it was a discriminatory and violation of both equal rights, and the both decisions reaffirmed the privacy of the Constitution over discriminatory customs and were turning points as the public conversation on gender, religion, and morality. The attainment of gender fairness, dignity, and respect for women as equal citizens was revolutionized by these rulings. Okay. So next we have Nari Shakti Vandan Abhiniyam 2023. So it's a think that women were granted one third of the seats in the Lok Sabha, state assemblies, and Delhi assemblies by the 106th Amendment to the Constitution 2023. And definitely, it is going to be a start or to implement from the next census and delimitation process with the determined implementation, which is definitely like, yeah. The goal of this change is to increase women's decision making authority and address their underrepresentation in the legislative politics. Like, as we know, in India, women have the less number of representation in the politics. If we see the other countries, definitely there are some countries which have the larger number of representation by the women side. But in India, there are like many villages or many places, even in the metro cities also, we see that women are not so familiar with the politics talk. If they will sit in a group, they will obviously talk about like herself, they will talk about the house, talk about their husband, talk about their children. So there is no such political knowledge or political attraction that women have. So the main goal of this change is to increase the women decision making authority, because if they participate in a huge number, definitely they will make a big difference. So, and address their under representation in the legislative politics. So, in a historic attempt to guarantee gender balanced involvement in government in order to strengthen democracy, and in Indian democracy, the inclusion, equality, and long term empowerment of women would be improved by their political participation, which is so much required, especially at this time where women now more educated, women now know more, getting freedom, they have like their own earnings, they have their own house, but still somewhere they need some support, or they need to like depend on someone in their family, whether it's father, whether it's husband, or whether it's the children. So, but yeah, like in society we live, there is a dependency on each other, but there is a thing which is more important for the women to get there, to understand their rights, to get their freedom, and to get their dignity, and just to make themselves stand out. So this is more important for them to have the political participation also, if they want to change the nation, if they want to change the like something, their laws or the implementation of the laws related to the women's right only. So for that also they have to unite and they have to fight, and that is only possible if they show some more interest, and they if they show some more participation in terms of politics. They put some views, they put some opinions. So that is required, obviously. Now, next is Bharti Nyaya Sanhita, which is a new and the modified version of IPC, which we have to read from now onwards. So, Bharti Nyaya Sanhita, it replaces the IPC as well from the colonial period and combining crimes against women and children into a more contemporary judicial system. So basically, like if we talk about the section 69 of the BNS, which introduced and making it illegal to engage in sexual activity while making false promises of marriage, work, or advancement. So it shows the strong legislative policies, which definitely going to help anyway to the women. So stricter responsibility and more deterrence are reflected in the increased minimum penalties for sexual crimes. However, the law still does not criminalize marital rape unless the woman is younger than 18. Okay, so these are some changes which made by the BNS towards the women rights and to change the dimensions of the women in the Indian society. Now, next, moving on, the next slide is emerging light judicial trends. So, whatever the case laws we have just gone through in this webinar, they obviously they just help to women to like make them stand out. So whether it's related to the gender equality or the equal opportunity for in working area, or the protection against the working harassment, sexual harassment. So like these are the things which are judicial trends which we are reading in this webinar. So, like there is a point which talks about the long-standing obstacles for women in leadership and combat positions have been broken by the Supreme Court's persistent advocacy for gender balance in the armed services. The understanding of changing societal attitudes and the significance of maintaining bodily integrity is shown by the expansion of abortion rights for unmarried women, and the decriminalization of adultery caused a change in emphasis towards the rest of the women's personal autonomy and dignity. So these are some points which I'm just reading, and now, okay, I think we should move to the next PPT. Next one is challenges in implementation. Challenges in implementation, which is the most uh, it's a major reason that we are not we are not able to get that exact perspective of the society and the acceptance of the society related to the women's right and related to the freedom of the women when we talk about. So challenges in implementation is if we say that domestic abuse and dowries continues to be widespread despite progressive legislation because of the enforcement and insufficient oversight systems. And workplace sexual harassment often remains unreported because of lack of knowledge about reporting procedures, fear of stigma or reprisal. Women's rights are still not effectively realized in everyday social activities due to deeply ingrained patriarchal beliefs. So these are some points which making the difficulty in implementing the laws. Like we have number of laws, we are not short laws or act which is especially made for the women's right or for the women protection. But the main point is their implementation, because they are not implementing the way it has to be. There is a need of a strong implementation. There is a need of knowledge, or there is a need of doing more campaigning for the women just to get the enough knowledge if they are going through something bad. If there is a workplace sexual harassment, so they has to know this, that there is a reporting procedure. They can make a to lodge an FIR. So these are the things which women still have fear of stigma. So or there is a patriarchal beliefs which making the things difficult to implement strongly in the society, definitely. Current discussions emphasize the need of gender neutral policies that target all victims regardless of their identity or sex. The underrepresentation of the female judges also, that is also one of the point which limits the range of viewpoints that may be considered women interpreting the law and making decisions. So that is also because when you want to be heard by everyone, you want to share something. So there has to be a position, there has to be a power, there has to be a power in your voice also, which make that things heard to all the people. Because if you don't have any powerful position in the society, if you don't have any that much respect in the society, then definitely people not gonna listen you. So there must be a powerful position, and that powerful position when we talk about our law, when we talk about the Indian legal system, definitely it's completely or like mostly it's depending on the judicial system or the judicial trends and the judiciary that we have in our society, uh, which they reflect the people's view, the people's opinion. So there is some lack of female judges, definitely, because the thinking and the perspective which women may have for the women is something like which is we required more. So there, definitely, if there is a shortage of female judges, so definitely it is limiting the range of viewpoints that may be considered when interpreting the law and making decisions. Okay, now moving on the road ahead. So road ahead is what else we can do and what else some measures there has to be. Like women from marginalized, economically disadvantaged backgrounds will have access to justice if legal aid institutions are strengthened. So legal aid institution must be there, it must be strengthened because they are only the thing where people seek help, a legal help basically, like campaigns to raise public awareness or public knowledge of the women rights and the legal options accessible to them for empowerment and protection activities. A stronger community-based enforcement of legislation pertaining to women will result from grassroots empowerments via panchayats and local administration. And in order to interpret constitutional ideals and close legal gaps for gender equity, judicial activism will continue to play a crucial role. And also, there is in order to attain the full gender equality in reality, social change and legislative changes must be coordinated for true transformation because not only making the laws, but also there must be a change in the mindset of the people of this nation, which definitely going to have the great impact or great change in the society if we try to think positive and try to think equality in their own mind that yes, every person, whether it's a men or women, they have an equal, they should get the equal freedom, equal opportunity, and equal rights. And the next is the global perspective on women's rights. So when we are like in a constitution also we have different articles, we have different things that we have uh, yeah, we have taken from the foreign countries. So India's own legal path towards gender justice has been influenced and inspired by global women's rights movements, including Western suffrage efforts. So if we see in a history, like in earlier time, there was no right to like there was no right for the women that they can vote. They cannot even vote. So अपना वोट कास्ट भी नहीं कर सकते, दे भी नहीं सकते. So how can you think that there will be a political participation from the women's side? So these are the things which have modified, which have like possible now, and it's all a global perspective also that we learn from the other person. Definitely, if there is a something good in the person who is in front of us, so definitely we will get some good things from the others. So it's like that also. So many of India's legislative changes pertaining to gender are guided by the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. So CEDAW of the United Nations that also guided India's legislative changes to make more rights and to make more uh, protection to the yeah, for the women. And the lessons from India may be learned from the nations like Rwanda or and the Nordic countries, which demonstrate how women political participation enhances democracy. Indian judicial and legislative conversations are also influenced by international discourses on topics like reproductive rights, that now we have a reproductive rights also, employment equality that we talked about under Article 16, and the marital rape. India can preserve its own culture and constitutional framework while adhering to international human rights norms by comparing its behaviors with those of other countries. I think it's clear to all. And now moving on to our next slide, which is the last slide of this session. It's a conclusion. So everybody knows, like there is no exact conclusion we can define when we talk about the women's rights, especially when we talk about the implementation of the laws in India, because we have everything. We have a judiciary system, we have a strong judiciary system, we have number of judges, we have number of acts, laws, we have a people who have some great mindset. So like it's like very um, difficulty that we face. It's always in the implementation of the laws. So that is the loophole, and that is the gap area of our society. So in India also there is a protectionist legislation pertaining to women rights has progressively given way to a framework of holistic empowerment that is informed by constitutional values. And this of women's personal freedom and legal acknowledgement of choice have been reinforced by the expansion of reproductive autonomy and bodily integrity. However, patriarchal attitudes and implementation issues continue to be a major obstacles for fully achieving these rights. Everyone will agree on this. Effective enforcement and a change in public perception that views gender inequality as a democratic imperative are essential for real achievement. So definitely there must be a effective enforcement, there must be a change in public perception. So as day by day we are just getting more qualified, we are getting more knowledge. So it's up to us somewhere that we have to stand for this, and the women like themselves, they have to stand for each other. So it's a time definitely where people think about it, and it's like the people who can just implement all the rights and all the liberties and all the things, facilities which are provided by our law for the women. So it's our duty and it's our time to implement those things, especially in our mindset and especially in our home, in our society. So it's like this. So I think it's last, yeah. And I think that's all from for all today from my side. I hope we have done. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for taking the time to share your valuable insights with us. Your expertise was truly enlightening. Thank you for breaking down complex concepts into easily understandable paths. We are grateful for your patience and willingness to answer the questions. Your session has definitely enhanced the understanding of the subject. Now, before we conclude, I am glad to inform you all that Nyaya Shastra is organizing legal drafting course and symposium. Registrations are open for our legal drafting course and upcoming symposium. The registration is completely free. The registration window will remain open till 15th of September. We encourage you all to register and be a part of these enriching competitions and opportunities. Thank you once again to our speaker and to all the participants for joining us today. With this, I, Anjali, is signing off from today's webinar. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for calling me, and thank you everyone for listening me so patiently. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Been a great pleasure for me. Thank you. May I leave now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you.